That's it?
Okay, no more.
Okay.
He's rolling.
Oh, okay, we are rolling. Our next speaker, Kenneth Fernandez-Taylor, very, very impressive doctor. He is a practicing MD in San Salvador, El Salvador. We're very excited to have him come all this way here because there are a lot of things going on in Central America that it's hard to find out about. So he has studied energy medicine. He's very privileged to practice in an environment where there are no regulations and a lot of opportunity. The government doesn't breathe down the necks of doctors in El Salvador, and that's a real blessing. He has special training from the Harvard Medical School, postgraduate work in bioregulatory medicine, emphasis on energy medicine. He also has trained at the Biomedic Foundation in London. And I love this quote. He said, "You get the feel of people anywhere in the world through the music they play." He likes street music and likes listening to all kinds of music as he travels. So let's welcome Kenneth Fernandez-Taylor.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be with you here today. I think you will be surprised by what you will hear in this talk this morning. And it's a real pleasure to be here. So we'll go into the talk. The name of the presentation is Bioresonance according to Paul Schmidt, an integrative approach to chronic and degenerative diseases. And basically, as the two previous speakers were saying, mostly what we're trying to do is to stimulate the body to heal itself. Hippocrates in ancient Greece, he says this dictum, vis medicatrix naturae, which means that the body has the capacity to heal itself. We just need to give the impulse to the body to do so. But we're also going to see how, through very sophisticated technology produced in Germany, which I have the privilege to practice in my country without regulations as it is in this country, I can even not only stimulate different bodily processes and cellular structures within the body, but I can also address frequencies to detect and destroy pathogens, be they virus, bacteria, fungus, as we will see. So here is Ross Addy, who said that we are at the gates of one of the greatest revolutions in the history of biology. He said that today we stand at a new frontier. It is more different to comprehend, but it is far more significant, for it is at the atomic level rather than at the molecular, where physical rather than chemical processes appear to shape the flow of signals that are at the essence of living matter. I was introduced to the ideas of Ross Addy by the person who recommended me to come to this conference. She is Reba Goodman, PhD from Columbia University, a very dear friend of mine, who she finished her work last year in Columbia after more than 50 years of research in this field. So here we have Paul Schmidt, the inventor of this technology I will be talking to you today. Since 1976, he has been developing this technology. He passed away like 20 years ago, but the 30-year-old company that produces this technology, Rionex, has been advancing his ideas and producing very important basic research for the development of this work. The company is located in the heart of Germany, near Cologne, and the company is also built in the form of pyramids, thinking about the energetic aspect of what they are preaching. And something curious is that after the pyramids were built, well, these pyramids were built and the area was first checked for energetic disturbances, and it was the perfect place to build something for energetic advances. And there were some scientists from France, I think they were, that were looking at pyramids all over the world, ancient ones, and they traced lines in the planet, and they found that these pyramids, by coincidence, were on these lines. So this is the Riacomp PS1000 Polar, the device I use in my clinic, and that many other doctors all over the world are using right now, from Japan to many other European and Latin American countries. And this is the Riacomp PS10, which is a portable device, which I have here with me to show you today. But the idea is that these devices complement one another. Whatever you do with the Riacom PS1000, you can store in a memory card, and then you can take for your travels or send to the house of the patients to be treated there. And this is also a device, depending on the software you have in it, it can be either for professionals, therapists, or for patients. So there is different levels of the software that people can use. There is the book, Bioresonance according to Paul Schmidt, Scientific Basis and Practical Applications. The author is Dietmar Heimes, an engineer that is now in charge of many of the aspects in the Paul Schmidt Academy in Germany and of the Rionex company. I'm going to go into one of the most important aspects of all that we're dealing here, which is the scientific advancement through research. So I will briefly talk to you about one of the latest studies that was performed last year. This study was, it took place at the Fraunhofer Institute. In Germany there are two important institutes, the Max Planck and the Fraunhofer. This is not alternative medicine, it's hard scientific evidence that is produced there. And at the beginning, the story is that the scientists there did not want to experiment with frequencies and all that we're dealing here, because it's another paradigm. It's something of the future, I would say, but they did not believe that there could be an effect. There was nothing to measure, they said. So why would we want to make research with this? But after different talks, the director, a woman, maybe intuitively decided, okay, we will do this research. And as you will see, the results were very interesting, and then at the end, the scientists at the Fraunhofer, the director said to the people from the Paul Schmidt Academy, they had to change their view of the world. So this is something that I think in this audience is a positive aspect, that most of you have a mind like a parachute. It's open, right? So, but in many different other scenarios in the world, in the scientific field, people have not opened their minds yet to this kind of knowledge. But we will see that there are many different aspects that are benefiting people over the world, and it's being proven through interesting research like this one. So this is the newest study from the Fraunhofer, and this study was to determine the effect of frequencies from the Rionex devices in cell culture. So this was a cell biological study. This means that through this, I mean, there is no interference from the mind or whatever the beliefs of the person could be. The purpose is that they were using the technology developed by the Fraunhofer to damage normal cells, fibroblasts, for instance. They have a technology to damage them and to measure the extent at which these fibroblasts can be regenerated or repaired. So healthy and previously damaged cell cultures were studied to evaluate the in vitro effect of treatment with PS1000 polar device, PS10 device, and the Thyrogym. This is a device for stimulating the thyroid gland for weight control. And to determine the effects of the different devices on the tissues, two cell lines were used: connective tissue of human fibroblasts and epithelial cell tissue of human keratinocytes. So the results were, one, that no side effects to the cellular structure concerning usage of PS1000 and PS10 were observed. We have here the treated cells, and here the untreated cells, the damaged cells. So what could be seen is that there is no side effects to a cellular structure. And this is very important, because a lot of people ask, are there any side effects to this treatment? And as you are directing a resonant frequency into the body, if there is no resonance with this frequency, there will be no effect. And with these devices, I mean, for this reason, you can give treatment to pregnant ladies, to people with pacemakers. Doesn't matter if you have any metals inside your body. And it's very subtle energy that's going into your body, and in a practical way, it has no possibility of causing any damage. And this aspect of the study proved this. Then we have reactivating damaged cells up to 15%. So this was measured in the PS1000 and in the PS10 I have here, and the difference between one and the other was very little. The scale here is different but the PS1000, the professional device one has in the clinic, is just a little bit stronger, but not significantly different. So both devices are comparably good in the effect and the power of the treatment. Then we have the third point is that different frequencies stimulate different cellular structures or activate different cellular structures. And this is something that Paul Schmidt postulated since 1976. And this is the very interesting point, that if you want to stimulate production of thyroid hormone, you need a specific frequency spectra. It's not just one frequency, it's one frequency spectra coded in the device that is emitted through a dipole antenna. And this is done through, you can hook the patient, both legs and both hands, with this kind of material, which is a Velcro material with cotton, and embedded in the mesh there is it's stainless steel, but there is also a blanket on which the patient can lie without having to have anything holding in his hands or in the feet. So it's very practical to work with this, and people generally don't feel anything during the treatment, but there sometimes come people who are very sensitive to energies, and they will feel like the flow energies through the meridians or the energy centers of the body. So then we have the Thyrogym. This is the latest device that will be released in Germany and in Europe in August, in a couple of weeks. This is the Thyrogym, which is a device, a medical device class 2A in Germany, certified like these other devices. And this therapeutic device produces magnetic frequencies to stimulate the thyroid with the aim of activating the metabolism and the associated weight loss. So there are studies that have been performed where, especially in people with no other health conditions, where without changing the diet or physical activity, the weight of the person can be reduced by 1.6 to 2.2 kilograms in 1 month by stimulating in a subtle way the thyroid hormone production in the thyroid gland. So this was also a study produced at the Fraunhofer, and the efficacy of the Thyrogym was proved by cell biological study at the Fraunhofer Institute in Dresden as well. From the final report, in contrast with this, an increased metabolic activity of the keratinocytes with the Thyrogym can significantly be measured. Keratinocytes are epithelial cells similar to those in the thyroid and permit a correlative conclusion as to the positive effect on the function of the thyroid gland. These studies will be independently published as a group, because there are other studies for the stimulation of the production of ATP in the cells, and they will be published independently in the near future. There are hormone levels in the blood analysis with the Thyrogym. So this was another of the studies that was performed. The extent to which the application of the Thyrogym can increase the concentration of the hormones T3 and T4 in blood was studied in 10 subjects. 9 of the 10 users achieved significant increases in the T3 and T4 hormone concentrations, as can be seen in this chart. So here I will talk a little bit about something that the first speaker this morning mentioned, the importance of the terrain within our bodies, not addressing treatment specifically to one organ system, but to the whole system. And here is a slide I have borrowed from James Oshman, who works a lot in energy medicine. And we see here a matrix, an energetic matrix. And also following on the work of others who have developed the concepts of energy medicine, we know that now that our cells are electrical semiconductors. They are crystal in nature, like a plasma TV, and they are conducting electricity by whatever happens from the environment and every process that is taking place within our bodies. So just a perceptual stimulus that comes into our eyes will trigger a whole range of electromagnetic and biochemical responses. But what is at the top of the hierarchy of our functioning is the electromagnetic. So we can take information electromagnetically at the speed of light all the way from outside of the cell, across the membrane, into the cell and also exerting an effect in the DNA, as we saw in the second presentation this morning by Dr. Shaley. And yes, most of the most interesting work that we can do with these devices is activate processes in the DNA. There are some resistant genes, and this is a work developed by a Japanese physician who has found these resistant genes, and when there's a person with a chronic degenerative disease, as cancer, cardiovascular disease, and the patient is not getting better with the usual treatments, you use these resistant genes programs, and you can expect to unblock these processes and expect a result out of that. So we have here again the Ryocomp and the PS10 and the interface between both. What I'm going to share with you today is the Ryonex analysis and harmonization system. This is a system, it's not just something separate, it's a whole way of treating a person gently because it has no side effects or it will not hurt in any way. And this is like the whole menu of what can be done with the devices. We start with analysis preparation. We check that the person has the energy necessary to receive a treatment. We check that the Schumann frequencies are unblocked and other special things. And then we check that the person has enough vitalization. If that's not the case at the beginning of a treatment, we have to give energy first to the patient before attempting to do any analysis or trying to make any checkups in the patient. And after that, we can go ahead and check the acupuncture channels. We can check each one of them, each one of the meridians, each one of the acupuncture points without having to put a needle into the patient. We can even harmonize, and we can really make this better in a patient, and we can pinpoint which point is the one that is blocked in a given meridian. And the most important aspect possibly is that we are addressing the basic causes of diseases, and we're looking for them. And nowadays we know that electromagnetism that surrounds us is a big problem. In Europe, there's important research that is stating that by 2017, 50% of us will be hyperelectric sensitive. So we are checking for electric smog, and we're checking for geopathies as well. Well, we will see what geopathies are, but some of the research, the first research done in the world on geopathies was done by George Lakovsky. Norm was talking about his work and how geopathies can be an important cause for energetic and physical blockages within the body that will impede us to get better and will cause cancer even if you're sleeping over a geopathic zone in your house or you're working over one of these areas. Then it's important to check an acid-base balance. If you are acid and you don't have an acid-base balance more into the alkaline level, you will be working, but you will not be having the results that you would wish to have. And then we can check vital substances. We can check if you have enough vitamin D level, for instance. In my country, I live in the tropics, there's a lot of sun there, but people, the lifestyle we're living, we're living under a roof, then we go to the building to work, and we never get the sun. We're not producing enough vitamin D. And I can check with this instrument, radioesthesia, a measurement of energy, if there is enough vitamin D on a person. If it's moving in a certain way, a circular manner, it means vitamin D is stable in the person, it's okay. But if it moves in another way, in a linear manner, be it vertically or horizontally, I can say there is a blockage, there is a deficiency of vitamin D, and I can check if I put vitamin D in the circuit energetically, if that is okay for the person or not. And in this manner, I am really detecting a lot of people with vitamin D deficiency. I send after a lab test to check, and yes, I can confirm it that way. I can also check for harmful substances, and that's very important because there are many toxicities around us, heavy metals and pesticides and genotoxics and other kinds of neurotoxins that are affecting us nowadays. And also with this same method, I can check if somebody has a mercury toxicity because of an amalgam in the teeth. So I can check, and if this moves in a linear manner, I can say, okay, it's possibly, I'm finding a mercury toxicity, let me check your mouth, and I see there's an amalgam in there, so I can send the person off to a specialist that can deal with that. And then we have all the bacteria, viruses, parasites, fungi. We can check all of this, very big database from the work of 9 years in Germany, and they are all classified into all the different systems: the immune system, lymphatic system, circulatory system, heart system, respiratory system, kidney, digestive, liver, and so on. Because the research that has taken place in Germany has determined which pathogens are related to which system. So in a very fast way, you can check for the pathogens that are affecting the lungs. And this is a nice story of how I helped someone in a conference in Argentina. Well, Dr. Rafael, I met him in the conference, and he said, look, I have a problem with my lungs, I'm coughing a lot, and the doctors can't find what is the problem. I'm also practicing other kinds of medicine, and I've treated myself, and I find no relief. So I said, look, I will check for the pathogens in your lungs in a very fast way, and in less than 4 minutes maybe, I checked for the list of pathogens that affect the respiratory system, from the upper respiratory tract up to the alveoli in the lungs, and I found 4 pathogens. Within them, there was Ascaris, one parasite, and he said, oh, that's curious, because the only test that is not normal that I have had performed is the eosinophiles in the blood. So there's a correlation there between a parasite and this indicator in the blood. And okay, so I said, sit down, and I put 2 of these in his hands, only because we were not in the consultation room or anything, but I will give you the treatment, 2 minutes treatment of each of these 4 pathogens. So it was like 8 minutes or so. And yeah, okay, after that we continued with the conference, and 2 weeks later he calls and says, look, I haven't had any cough, I've been okay for 2 weeks, and please send me over one of those devices. And since January he was working with this small device, and he says his practice has revolutionized, because the kinds of patients that are coming to him are chronic and degenerative people that are not getting any relief from the conventional medicine. And well, he came over to El Salvador to the conference we had earlier this year as well. And yeah, he's like the rest of the doctors that I'm sharing this information with in my country. Everybody's really satisfied, and there's one of them who has an autistic child who is being seen by a neurologist in the Miami Children's Hospital. The neurologist said to him, to the mother, look, I don't know what you're doing with this child. I don't know what bioresonance is, but continue to do it, because the results and the changes I'm seeing in this child after he's getting this treatment is great. So this is 2 examples, but there are many different cases I could share with you here. So here we have the vitalization, the different chakras of the body. Depending if you're a male or female, there's a different frequency spectra that will stimulate the normal function of the chakras. And you can check which chakras are blocked, and you can unblock them through the energy. And then we have the stimulation of acupuncture channels, as I said. You can check point by point from every different meridian which point is blocked, and you can unblock it without any needles. And this is very nice, because when there's children and you have to put needles and they just see it and they run away. So this is a very nice way. You can have them playing with something, and you put this one around their necks, and it's a very easy and gentle way to treat. So all the different points from the different meridians you can stimulate. This is, for instance, the lung meridian, and the science behind is that the frequency for each of these points has been devised. It's a work of so many years. And, well, now we go into the part of the cause-oriented therapy. As I was mentioning, we have electrosmog. And this electromagnetic pollution, we can check in a general way, if you have electromagnetic pollution in generally speaking in your body. But then we can also go into a subcategory to find which kind of electromagnetic pollution you have. And we know that there's a cellular cascade of amplification that is produced through electromagnetic signals. For instance, with the calcium, there's an electromagnetic signal going into the cell and then producing this cascade effect. So definitely, with the electromagnetism that surrounds us, we can really have serious effects depending on our sensitivity. Everybody has a different threshold. Gro Harlem Brundtland, the last Director General of the World Health Organization. She could not have a telephone, a cellular phone, a mobile phone, 4 meters away. She reacted to it. So this helped to bring this topic more into the media, but still it is controversial, but you will definitely find it if you look for it, and you will be able to help people if you are focusing on this, because there is definitely a very strong effect through these mechanisms. And this is one of the work of Martin Blanc in Columbia University, and is really something very meaningful to search. So there is a correlation between E-smog and acid-base imbalances. Usually, if a person has a E-smog sensitivity, he will become acid. The information it gives the body in the form of frequencies is the key. So we give this information through the frequencies, and we can detect and correct these imbalances. So we have mobile phones, different types of signals of mobile devices, DECT wireless telephones, the wireline internet, and you can check for other kinds of frequencies that are affecting us. Some people may be sensitive to mobile phones, others to DECT phones, and others may be sensitive to all of these frequencies here. So this is, especially in the Riocom PS1000, is very nice because you have a touch screen and you can go working very rapidly. But if you're working with the PS10, you have to dial in the codes of the frequency spectra, and in that way you can check very efficiently and very swiftly all this that I'm showing to you here right now. Given the potential consequences for public health, it is important to take pragmatic measures to reduce exposure. This is something fairly recent, since I think maybe at the most 2 years, the World Health Organization has taken electromagnetic pollution as a cancer risk. So, also the effect of alternating electric magnetic fields in the biology of the body has been determined. So we know that the different frequencies of the wireline internet, of the cellular mobile phones, the DECT phones, each one of them is affecting different cellular structures. So we know that these interferences affect the following regulatory areas. For instance, cellular systems, the heart, epiphysis, and brain nucleus. So it's very fundamental interferences that are affecting cellular systems. So from this, you can really conclude that there are serious problems if you are electro-hypersensitive. And if you look up in the internet, there are people even having to go live out of the cities because they don't tolerate this. And unfortunately, in the developed world, many people are aware of this. But in my country, a lot of people are suffering from strong pain, degenerative diseases, and they have no way of making the correlation between the technology and the energy that surrounds them and what they are experimenting, and they suffer as a consequence. So the company produces also solutions to these problems. Here we have the ELO-RIEX, which is this special tablet I have here. This inside has 6 dipole antennas emitting the energy to unblock or release in your body the blockages that are produced through these 6 frequencies that are emitted by the electromagnetic pollution. And well, you can use it, have it around you. If you can put it on your bedside table and during the night, and all the pollution you accumulated during the day, it will be unblocked from your body, and these different energy processes at the cellular level will be unblocked, and this way your body will respond, will receive the stimulus, the impulse to regain its normal function in a way. But the best is to move away from the interferences and protect yourself in the way you can. There's also TV rags especially for the frequency from the screens. And now I will move on to the topic of geopathic stress. As I mentioned, Hippocrates has also said more than 2,000 years ago, "Tell me where you live and I will tell you what you are suffering from." This is nothing new. I mean, it's something that has been taught for millennia, but that we are now regaining this knowledge, recovering it, and using technology to detect it around us, because electrosmog and geopathies we cannot smell, we cannot see, we cannot touch, like smog from smoke from a bus or any other kind of pollution. So we cannot move away from this if you don't feel it. Most of us are not sensitive to this, and most of us are not even aware that it exists. So we must become aware and raise our consciousness to these things. So here's George Lakovsky. He was born in Ilya near Minsk in Russia in 1870. He was an engineer, as Paul Schmidt as well. He was a graduate from physics and biology from the Sorbonne in Paris. And his theoretical basis, all matter rests on radiant vibrational energies, which is exactly what later on other scientists from the quantum physics world have already developed, that all physical matter is really energy vibrating at different levels, and we just need to find what vibration it is that we need to correct within the body in the health field, and once we do this we can restore the normal function. So he did this research since the beginning of his work, in which he related nature of the subsoil with the spread of cancer and the efficiency of his therapies. So many people are treating their patients, but they see not a good response because the patients go back to their homes and sleep over these interference zones. So it's very important to check for geopathies, because if a person, as Lakovsky found, he made a correlation between his therapies and what he was doing with people sleeping in these interference zones, and he saw, as later on in Cuba, they have found, like this was in 2010, the national prize for oncology was given to Dr. Laureano Obrera Hernandez and colleagues for developing this study, influence on the radiation of nature and technological radiation in the genesis of some types of cancer. So they went home by home, like Lakovsky did in Paris maybe 200 years ago, and they were measuring where these energetic disturbance lines were lying, and they could correlate that people with cancer were sleeping over these interference zones. So after making this epidemiological survey seeking what lay beneath the beds of patients, researchers in 2010 won the prize of the National Institute of Oncology in Cuba. So this is really a very important work, and I think oncologists in the future will pay attention to this. So do you know if where you live, work, and sleep is harmful to your health? Here we have a bed inside a room. Let's say the bed was here originally, and there is an interference line here and an interference line here, and the person is sleeping here night after night after night, and getting his energy really disturbed by this. So the recommendation was to move the bed, but he still got his feet on the disturbance area. So this is what I'm thinking about a patient I have in El Salvador. She's from Korea, and she has a cellulitis on her foot, and I detect she has two strong geopathies. Her health is really good in all respects, except that this cellulitis doesn't get better. So this could be the case of this patient of mine. Here we have a map of a bedroom in which the different veins, an underground water is located. So we have an underground water vein there. This is one of the geological disturbances. There are a fault or a shifting in pink. And then we have Hartmann lines, Curie lines, under the person sleeping on the left side of the bed. 2 lines of Hartmann crossed, and the vein of water, which is a triple junction. Here 2 people got sick of leukemia. So there's the bed again, and we have a crossing here of different disturbances. The water vein, the Hartmann line, and we also have here the shifting. When this happens, this is a place for cancer. And, well, there's electromagnetic fields, and we know that they cause degenerative diseases, cerebral tumors, cancer, leukemia. So this work was done by Richard Gautier, and well, you can look for more information regarding this. So again, in the device, we can check individually for the different disturbances. And again, the different disturbances are correlated, the frequencies, with cellular chromatin and the different levels, the structures within the cell that are being disturbed by these geological disturbance zones. So we have the geopathy, plasticnopathy, a sick environment. And well, this is something that needs to be considered more within medicine, and at the moment is really not taken into account. For geological disturbance zones, RIONX produces the biofield configuration devices. This is a duplex. It produces, and it has within it different dipole antennas, again emitting the frequencies to stimulate within the body the normal function of what is blocked from the disturbance zones. And this is the mini RIONX, one of Paul Schmidt's first inventions. I have here one with me. And this permanently emits the fundamental frequency 12.5, the frequency of energy in the body. It helps to produce ATP. And it's useful to counteract the physical and mental stress, as well as geopathies. And it has a radius of 2.5 meters of function. Yeah. The duplex has a functioning radius of 30 meters. So we go into another of the causes I was talking, the pH imbalance, the acid-base balance. And well, in the holistic medicine world, we speak that the tissues and the body should be more into the alkali, but all the modern way of living is taking us into the acid. So we need to check for that. So we can check for acid and alkaline balance within the connective tissues, the matrix, in the pancreas, in the liver, and the small intestines. And basically, when somebody has e-smog, you will find that all of these different parameters will be acid. Then we can check for vital substances based on the scientific principle of cell resonance. It is possible to move away from the paradigm that tries to guess nutritional deficiencies or biochemical abnormalities through the chemical way of thinking. So we can check for the different minerals, calcium, potassium, magnesium, sodium, for different trace elements, copper, manganese, molybdenum, iodine, for probiotic bacteria, for heavy metals, cadmium, platinum, gold, mercury, silver. And then there's the complete directory of the frequencies of bacteria, virus, fungi, and parasites. St. Georgi, he in his later years, he worked here in the US. He was a Nobel Prize in 1937, said all medicine is energy medicine. And well, I guess most of you have read a lot of his works, but yes, it's definitely something that even for what is infectious diseases have to do a lot with energy medicine. If you have energy imbalances within you, then the parasites will have a better place to live within your body. So as I said, we have bacteria, virus, parasites we can look for, and then we have the analysis and harmonization of the different organs and tissues we can do. So we can go to the different cellular structures. We can check for the energy in the cell membrane, cytoplasm, endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria, and we can check if there is a strong imbalance or a weak imbalance. If we get a bipolar signal with the radiesthesia instrument, then we know there is a strong imbalance that we must treat. We must help the mitochondria in this case. Then we can go into the different organ systems and check layer after layer. The heart, for instance, we have the right ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle, tricuspid valve, and we can check which level of disturbance we have there. And then we can go and check for different kinds of disturbances through frequency spectra that have been found in the patients with these diseases. So we have patients with cardiac insufficiency. There is the 41.20 program to check if there's a person with cardiac insufficiency. But something I find a lot with people with heart disturbances is psychogenic heart disorder because of the epidemic of stress we're living in the world. So, of course, I will find psychogenic heart disorder, but let's remember that a technology is not going to save our practice. This is just an instrument. What really is helping the world is what makes us thrive, as we were learning the first day of the conference, which is the power of love. So if you as a practitioner are using instruments, but then potentiate your practice, potentize your practice through the power of love and the intention to really heal your patients, this is also quantum physics at work. And this kind of problem, psychogenic heart disorder, is really helped a lot by this approach. the relationship between the doctor and the patient, the therapist, the patient, and this interaction is what really is very powerful therapeutically. So then we check for what are the heart, in the physiology of the heart, which are the pathogens that are affecting. And we have Streptococcus mitis, Rickettsia, Dirofilaria, which is a worm that usually is found in dogs, but people are also getting these worms. Clonochi sinensis, kilomastic cysts, which are in rats, kilomonas, and you can check. And I have found, for instance, these kilomastic cysts, they produce tachycardia. And because people have come to me because I also practice hypnotherapy, and they say, look, I'm very anxious and I have a lot of anxiety and palpitations in my heart. And then I check and I find kilomastic cyst and kilomonas as well. And I treat this, I treat, and then the palpitations go away. So sometimes it's not all in the mind as one could believe. So here, this is a picture of the liver, and you can check for disturbance in the different ducts of the pancreas, of the bile system, and then we have here the whole spine, and we can check for different disturbances in the spine and within the discs. And well, this is a schematic to show you how through the PS1000 Polar, particularly the professional device, you can print the results of what you have found disturbed in the patient, and you can store that in your chart to have a record of what you are harmonizing, what you're treating, and have a record of how your patient is evolving in time. There are also programs for the psyche. I think this is very interesting because in my practice, sometimes I'm very busy, and there are people that need attention, and I say to my assistant, okay, please use such and such programs to unblock the energy pathways, the chakras, and produce ATP before I go and see the patient. And sometimes people that haven't, like a month ago, I had a lady who said, my assistant called me and said, look, you have to come and see this lady because she's crying, she's very angry, and I don't know what's happening. And I went to see her, and she said, she was, very exasperated. And I said to her, so what's going on? The moment, like 10 minutes after I sat here, I got really angry, frustrated. I thought, what am I doing here? I want to go away. I want to throw this machine away. But I know it's good for me, she said. So I'm enduring this because I haven't cried for 37 years, she said. And I was like, what? Yeah. So I helped her do the catharsis using some of the hypnotherapy methods I have learned. And yeah, the device continued to work. And yes, at the end, well, it was not the device, but also the help I could give her in that relationship. Well, she went away and had a good night's sleep and regained her peace and tranquility. And she came back like a few days later, and I checked, and I could find through the programs of depression and phobias and anxiety and stress what was going on with her. And but what is really interesting is sometimes without having to speak with a person, but just unblocking energetically the person's body, this catharsis comes out, and I have seen it many times. So we have also programs for stress. Within these programs, as you can see here, there's a stress reduction, weight reduction, giving up smoking, giving up an addiction, material sensitivity. The learning program is very interesting because there's a lot of children, I know here and in my country it's an epidemic. The psychiatrists are diagnosing them with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and this program works marvelously with these patients. I mean, you just have the children there for 20-40 minutes once a week, and the child that the mother said, look, this child, they have to explain to him in the class 5 times what he has to do. This child then is explaining his peers what they have to do. So it's very positive results that I'm seeing, and the children that you speak to them and they're looking somewhere else and they're never paying attention, and then you speak to them and they're like really paying attention to what you're saying. So it's something that should be paid attention to as well. So other special programs, I won't be able to mention everything the device has, but we have the frequencies for Bach flowers and Schussler salts. These frequencies are incorporated in the device So you can check without speaking to the person which kind of Bach flower the person needs, or Schussler salt, electromagnetically, I mean, by the frequency spectra. And then you can give this remedy. You can also check and treat allergies and desensitize allergies. In Germany, when people think of allergy, they think of bioresonance because it has a really, really powerful effect with allergies. And then there's energetic duplication you can do. So you can have a homeopathic remedy or whatever kind of substance or medication, and you can transfer energetically from the pill or the substance into something else, be it water, be it brandy, be it whatever you want. And then you can drink the energetic imprint of this substance without many of the side effects that come from the chemical or other aspects of the product. So as I mentioned, for the concentration in children, there's very good results for the children with ADHD. There's treatment for Epstein-Barr virus 1 and 2, special program for chronic patients. So this is the programs in the 70s frequencies, spectra, this is the programs. So in these programs, for people with Epstein-Barr virus, there is a whole treatment program. When you dial 70.43, you will be giving that special treatment that includes detoxification, includes vitalization, includes special frequency spectra to destroy these pathogens. And then we have interference suppression program for scars. Many of you might know that when you have gone under surgery and your appendix was removed, this scar produces energetic disturbance. The energy is not flowing correctly in your body. So when you dial this special program, you will get a release of that blockade in your body. There is the resistant genes program. This is one of the last programs developed. It came in the last update just a couple or 3 months ago. And these resistant genes, as I mentioned, is a way to remove genetic blockades for the recovery of patients. There's a program for wound healing, very effective for people after surgery and or who have a very sensitive mucosa in the stomach, have an ulcer. So this program is helping to heal these tissues. All the special programs, well, you can do autosanguis urine therapy via bioresonance. So I can put in a special cup a sample of urine of the patient, and in this way I can really be sure that I'm giving a complete treatment, because I can devise a whole frequency program and everything, but there is information that I may not have. So in the urine or in the blood, there is all this information. So if I put it in the circuit of the treatment, the patient will be getting this like immune boost with information the person needs for any particular problem that might be within the body that I have not detected yet. So we can stimulate the immune system, and this is always something to include in the protocols of treatment, as well as I would say the depression programs. Always put the depression programs into the treatment because this is something endemic in the world nowadays, isolation and people feeling losing their jobs and the emotional aspect of things. But again, I emphasize, don't just rely on a machine. Use your personality to help people in this respect. There's other treatment specials for candida, which is something very common. Why? Because we are acid, and the acid environment is a promoter for candida. And then there's the range value test, which is, I leave it for last, but it's really something that you can do at the beginning of a treatment, which is a way of finding the electromagnetic fingerprint of a person. It's something very individual. You go through 200 frequencies, and you will check which of these 200 frequencies are blocked. And these frequencies are coded for different mental, attitudinal, physical aspects of health and disease, and you can stimulate these blockages. And when you do that, it's like preparing the terrain for the future treatment. And this is the screen for the allergen desensitization. You put the allergen here. It will usually be 15 minutes. The patient is connected to the device, and in that way, if somebody is allergic, let's say, to chocolate, and the person, of course, wants to eat chocolate, we place a chocolate here, tell the patient come twice a week, and then the person will be able to eat chocolate without no problem. Then we got the energetic duplication program. It'll take 1 minute, 20 seconds to duplicate a substance. So you can have a homeopathic remedy, put it in one cup, and put some water in the other cup, and then you will have made, some more of the product you want to duplicate. You can use Global Eye, like it's using homeopathy. You can use brandy. You can use water. You can energize a lot of different substances. Then we have the periodic table of elements. It's very interesting that we have all the periodic table of elements incorporated even in this very small device here. And this is very nice because when I was in Germany in the courses I took in the Schmidt Academy, well, we saw that some people came because they had been intoxicated by the water they were drinking. So they put the glass of the water they had drank, and through radiesthesia again, and using the periodic table of elements, you could go one by one of the elements and find which were the toxic in that water, and also use the same water as a treatment. But of course, the main point was to detect where the origin of the toxicity was coming from, and also know particularly, specifically, what was the toxic effect in the person. So now to wrap up the talk, I will say what are the basic characteristics of bioresonance according to Paul Schmidt. First, this is a holistic treatment that aims to find and treat root causes of disease. It's a system, not just an isolated device trying to remove or something in particular. It has a revitalizing effect. It's a cellular oxygenator, a powerful anti-inflammatory effect, has an analgesic effect. There are special frequencies for pain management. And there's also a stimulus of physical, psychological, emotional, and spiritual hemodynamia. This means that as we are giving a spectrum of frequencies, up to the gigahertz and terahertz, very high levels of vibration, you're also stimulating the spiritual aspect, the spiritual side of things in the patient. And this is where the energetic disturbances first begin, at the highest frequencies. So if you detect disturbances in the highest frequencies, and you can prevent them from coming into the more physical levels of vibration. So you can make preventive medicine, and for the person who is looking to regain the health, you can not only help him physically, but also emotionally and even spiritually. And this is a very positive side effect of the treatment. So each analysis is a short treatment. Why? Because every impulse to measure is one small treatment. So this is very interesting. The patient feels well and without adding anything physical to the body. Toxins, or homotoxins as they're called, and pathogen detection in products. In Germany as well, there was a pregnant lady that was having some undesired symptoms, and she came with her blanket with different fabrics and different products she was using. And with a special instrument, you could touch whatever she was bringing, and you could see and check with radiesthesia if this product or this special fabric was interfering with the general energy. So this is really nice because this way, if this started to move in a linear way, then we advised the lady, please stay away from this product, stay away from this kind of thing. And for animals, in animals it works perfectly because a dog will not tell you what is the problem. So you can check his food and check if the food is good for him or not. And this way it's also very used in Germany in horses and animals because normally it has to do with what they're eating as well. And in my practice, I also do that. I mean, people come with different types of bread, different kinds of cheese, and I can really pinpoint, this is the kind of cheese you need to avoid. This is the kind of bread that is not causing you any problems. And it has to do maybe with the different ways of production of these things. Conclusions. The medicine of the future is here, providing the ability to control at the most fundamental level the biological processes of bioregulation that lead to health or disease. The human body comprises of a network of electromagnetic interconnections that should be stimulated and programmed with health resonances to conquer the complex diseases of the 21st century. Bioresonance, according to Paul Schmidt, can be a valuable adjunct to the management of chronic and degenerative diseases in a holistic, integrative, and preventive way. And it's important to emphasize again that not one treatment will be enough. You need also to check for all the different aspects of health and disease, as are the lifestyle, nutrition, the stress levels, and how the person is handling himself in society that need to be taken into account. Even the socioeconomic is so important nowadays to consider. Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure to be here with you. So if there are any questions?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen.